ball spot.
That's good.
I thought the fade at least hide my ball spot. Ready?
Yeah.
We want to welcome you to our February the 5th Tuesday night study session. We ask that you silence and turn off all cell phones. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 7 p.m. and at midnight. First item on the agenda, Main Street 2018 Annual Review.
We have Wendy Shai to give us our update tonight.
How Wendy?
Hi, Mayor and Commissioners.
How you doing?
How Wendy?
Hello. On this cold, getting yucky evening. Well, Main Street's still here. I continue to be passionate about downtown and small businesses, and the many amazing merchants and the merchandise that they carry. So, and I'm glad that they call our full-service downtown their home. We work with economic development nearly every day. It's probably my favorite part of the Main Street job. It's always fun to see the business models that folks are coming in with, the attention to detail that many of them have provided. We want to make sure that they have the resources they need because we want them to be successful. The last thing we want to see is that they inherited some money or they, whatever happened and they have, want to start a business. So we want them to really know what it is to be a small business owner because they wear many hats. We worked with 87 small business contacts this year in 2018 and entrepreneurs. And it seems that our office is very popular. I think some of the merchants are recommending they stop by and talk to Main Street. We try and give them we have a recap sheet that gives all the funding opportunities that are available through the city, through Leavenworth County, through Main Street, through Network Kansas. They work with almost always we sign them up with a meeting with Will Katz, the KU Small Business Development Manager. And so we're helping them realize their dreams. I provided you in your packet. I'd hate for you to go home with nothing. So you have a copy of our available properties list at the back of your packet. Another one of the listings that we keep for categorize all the Main Street businesses downtown. The business guide, and we provided you a shopping guide as well. We print these frequently, have a brand new printer, so Marley's excited. But anyway, we want to provide them with everything they need to open a great business. When we looked back at 2017, our growth of working with entrepreneurs and businesses was up 60%, from 52 in 2017 to 87 in 2018. We worked closely with about 8 buildings that were purchased downtown in 2018. Oftentimes, an example would be 424 Cherokee. We knew that they were going to sell the building. I contacted a potential entrepreneur I'd worked with for a couple years because his passion had been to open a live jazz lounge, and the interior of it really worked for him, and he was working on that contract with the owner within the next day. And so that's exciting. We worked with helping Missy relocate to another business that we knew the interior would really work for her and she wouldn't have to do a lot of renovation. So First Taste moved there. Where did she move to, or do you have? She's right across from Home 2 Suites where DeGoler went out.
Okay,
So
good.
they had left and had a lease there, and so she worked through that with Jeremy. And it had all of that nice vibe that she has in her existing business. And then we helped recruit 3 businesses to downtown. And active leads are going on now. I've met with 2 folks already this month, and I have 2 more appointments this week. And so we'll take a look at what they have to offer. That was the slide I just...
Yeah, I think you were talking to
I know, I get to yakking and forget what I'm doing, don't I? So we feel like our events and activities that we host really provide a lot of economic impact to the merchants and to the city, the county and state as well. This is a little bit of a recap. Our Live After 5 events are those first Thursday ticketed events. The For the Love of Chocolate is coming up this Thursday. It will be delicious, both sweet and savory. The event continues to grow. We track all that from the inception of this is our third year, so the first year, and we've got the second year and the third. Folks really have gotten into that, and we're adding a fun wheel of fun and fortune to this event, and it will happen Thursday evening. It won't happen every month, but they will have additional ways to win whatever the merchant decides to give away, and Main Street has a few things that we're giving away as well. So another event that we were really happy with was Small Business Saturday with American Express, and we always participate in this. We have for many years, but the last couple of years we've really kept track of it, and $74,000 was spent in 34 businesses on that Shop Small Saturday. We count the tickets, and for every $25 they spend at a participating merchant, one of those 34 businesses, they are given a ticket. So there were 2,960 tickets sold, turned in, and they're entered to win one of 10 $100 drawings for Main Street Bucks. So we awarded those, we took those pictures, and they were out on our Facebook. That event has become so successful that we started Christmas in July and had a similar promotion. And so it just encourages people to shop local, and then the Main Street Bucks recirculate downtown over and over. The Build a Bouquet encourages Mother's Day purchases. The city market, we partner with the farmers market on those second Saturdays of May through October. The concert series is meant to draw people generally to downtown to see what we have. We have many community and visitors that attend that, and we try and provide many genres. I believe Marley has those booked for this year, so that is always exciting. The sidewalk sales is a good way merchants look at it, that they have some things to sell and they can liquidate some inventory, and shoppers can take advantage of those sales. Our barbecue event draws a lot of teams and family and friends downtown so they can explore and see what we have to offer, shop. Many of them eat breakfast out. Some eat dinner out when they're on their way out of town because they're probably tired of barbecue. But anyway, we hope they come back.
Let me ask you a quick question about the barbecue. How many teams did you have this year? Do you remember?
I think we had 34.
And it was a Friday night and Saturday event, and any issues?
Mother Nature. It was
Yeah, but I know you served beer, and we had a contention that,
Yep.
you know, but,
Yep. Nope.
and just like other years, there were no issues with
We
that.
haven't had an issue,
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't think, in any of our
Yeah,
events.
okay, I just wanted to,
and-
just to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, this
Sure, we
last
haven't
year
heard of
wasn't
any.
real typical because of the weather,
weather was
but
bad.
even the year before, no, we don't have any events, we
Yeah.
don't have repeat, even at the concerts. You know, we pay attention, if somebody's coming back and back and back, then we slow down on serving
Yeah.
them, but that doesn't happen
Yeah,
very
I-
often either.
Been at the concert series and barbecue,
Yep.
I've never seen an issue. You know,
Yep.
just-
It's just mostly Mother Nature that deals us a
Yeah.
bit. I've seen many of you at the Veterans Day VIP reception, and there again, we partner with Exchange Bank on that so that we can showcase the downtown restaurants. They provide delicious food. We give them a stipend and have some sponsors for that. And it kind of kicks off our Banner of Honor project that is within the Delaware streetscape. Holiday Hope Open House is always a favorite one. It's similar to the Charm Hunt, which we don't do that. That's downtown merchants, but people like the opportunity to pick up something free at those participating merchants, so they get a free ornament. They just come in and get a map from our office. It doesn't cost them anything, and then they go around to the participating businesses, and they've got some nice ornaments that they can make a small tree or a wreath for their door or whatever. So. These events, some of them are the same ones, but I listed that like I said, oftentimes, we're just bringing folks and visitors to our downtown to realize that we have a large 28-block full-service downtown. Other times, they're going directly into the merchants' businesses. And we hope that those are cash register ringing events as well. But we can't do much once they get to inside the business. That's up to the merchant. So this is just a recap. We've got the spring tea that we're planning, and that's on Saturday, April 27th, I believe, at Crancer's, and that has been a tremendous experience. Businesses decide to decorate a table. It doesn't cost them anything. They do elaborate centerpieces, and they provide the 8-plate settings in whatever patterns they want, glasses and a teacup, and they can dress up if they want. We have ladies that have hats. We have some men that attend, and they're served a delicious tea luncheon and provided with some entertainment. And it's grown every year, and I think we're just now kicking it off this week, and we've got about 8 businesses already signed up. So that's a really nice, fun showcase for businesses all throughout the area.
Is that just for ladies and
No,
children?
there's men that come. We don't encourage a lot of small children, but
Right.
teens can come, and we generally work with the junior ROTC and NHS students, and oftentimes they're serving. Queen's Pantry serves the tea, and it's not as easy for that big of a group just to make a pot of tea, and she really works hard to have all that prepared and have it at the right temperature. So anyone's welcome.
And you are getting the word out on that, not only within Leavenworth, but maybe Fort Leavenworth too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good.
We're meeting with Kat tomorrow, so the balance of our materials aren't quite ready. But as soon as we have that meeting tomorrow, then all of that will hit the streets and the airways and everything else.
Okay.
This is a comparison of our budget items. Our business, financial, and friend investors make up about 24% of our budget. This is our total budget for 2018. And when we submit that in June, like of last year, our budget, it probably was submitted, I would say, probably at about 176 to 182,000. So as we go through the year, we adjust what we're doing. If some of our fundraising doesn't come out like it should have, like our barbecue event didn't produce the results we thought. So this was the balance, our actual budget at the end of 2018. The City of Leavenworth annual investment is 20%, program fundraising is 52%, and our grants have been
5,700.
Oh, I apologize. You have a new sheet in your spreadsheet. This one is not correct because I realized it said 2017. So the one in your packet is correct.
That's fine.
So our grants is 3%.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yep. Your return on investment is 5 times or 400%. So we hope we value that.
I don't want to sharpshoot you or anything, but if mine adds up to like 106%, 104%, I'm sorry. Am I right? 36, 10,
24,
maybe not 56, 76. No, I got it. No, I was looking at a different line.
100%.
It's 100. It's right. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
So in 2018, there were a number of buildings that have been purchased downtown. 301 Cherokee is the corner of 3rd and Cherokee, and that's pretty much been gutted. It was a former pet store, and it had quite a bit of smell in it, and really needed some attention. And so that project is kind of sitting there right now, but I know that will continue on. 424 Cherokee, what used to be First Taste Olive Oils, and it is now the 424 Lounge. And if you haven't been there, they have live,
really nice.
Amazing jazz, and it's
really
beautiful
nice.
inside. And James,
You been there?
I haven't been there, but I've seen, it's
Yeah, it's
been
nice.
It's very
featured
nice.
on Facebook, so I
it's
got
nice.
some feedback.
James attended Destination Boot Camp as well, and so I went to that interview with John Schallert, and he was pleased at what he was doing, and I know he picked up some additional tips so that he can be successful. 508 Cherokee was formerly Dr. Kim Pearl and her Vision Center, and Sunflower Healing and Recovery was located in a leased space, and she purchased that building. 525 Cherokee is still John's Barber Styling, our longtime barber, but he did sell his building, and it's going to be a gorgeous upper story residence. The people have been working on that.
He's still staying open, isn't he?
Yes,
John
he's
still
just
there?
leasing back
Yeah,
from the
okay,
new owner.
yeah.
I think he offered to his kids, and they said, nah.
Oh, his son's not gonna run it?
No. Well, I mean, I think his
He
son
can
and
stay.
daughter are still there, but anyway, they didn't want to buy the business or have it given to them. 604 and 606 Cherokee are formerly the Basaprua Restaurant, and then 608 and 610 is the three-story, kind of a blue building with the upper story windows covered up. That was a bar, and so the same owner bought those two properties, those double properties, and they're probably going to open a restaurant back up where the restaurant was, and he's just recently retired from the military, so he's going to bring an interesting business, I think, to those locations. 618 Cherokee is under contract, and so that whole block of Cherokee is going to be looking up. I know I keep saying that, but I really know it will.
That's great.
I'm making some inroads with the owner of the Club Benham building, and so,
Yay.
you know, if we can get that one going as well, then
That's the last piece on the chessboard, right?
Yeah.
it is.
Is there anything the commission can do to help or
Well,
think about it?
I'll give you a holler if there is.
Did he plan on reopening or turning into a new business?
Which
anything?
one?
Club Benham?
Oh, it's been
Vacant for like 8 years.
12 or
Gotta
10
get
years.
Gotta get the guy to sell it.
It's really nice inside, though. It's not horrible inside. I've toured it. There's a little bit of a water leak because it does need a new roof. And there's really no patching the roof. But as far as amazing space, upper story, and there's the space behind on 6th Street as well. So it's got a lot of potential. And we're actually talking to two different people about that building. So 3rd and Delaware was the one that the city purchased and demoed. And then 415 Delaware is, that's the Ralph Dix building that has a church in one side and then military memorabilia moved across the street. And so if you don't know, it's out of the barn that's moving there, and she has an agreement with him, and will be purchasing the building and actually moving downtown as well in the upper stories. So that's pretty exciting.
Who is going, did you say who is going in there? I didn't hear.
Out of the barn.
Okay.
That's in the, and we actually have a interested person for that space that she's going to be vacating, because it's pretty good size in the Masonic building. So anyway,
Is the church staying?
I believe she'll probably leave them there, and
Oh, okay,
you know,
she's just doing the other part, okay.
the rent they pay is you know,
Substantial.
relatively good for the
Yeah.
time being. So anyway, but we played a significant role in the changing hands of those buildings.
Going back to Cherokee, there was a store that opened the last 3-4 months of 2018, the wine and winery Twisted Vines.
Z&M Twisted Vines.
So
Yep.
they seem to be doing pretty well.
You know, I
mean, if you
maybe
could
didn't
believe-
put them on that list. Thanks, Mike. I
Right.
should have done that. Yep.
Yeah, well, it's just an indication that I think things are turning around with
Yep.
respect to that block,
Yep.
so.
And they purchased that building. They were really looking at a couple other buildings, and I was surprised when I saw it on Facebook because I thought somebody commented it's in Tonganoxie, and I'm thinking, no, I know that building. It's in Leavenworth. And so, you know, I think with him talking with the former owner, they struck a deal. And if you haven't been in
Yeah.
it's got a wine cellar in the basement
the wine
with
down there.
stone and all, and you can go down and have prohibition parties, and, you know, if you have a wedding coming up, he'll even print your own labels on your wine. You can pick your wine, and you can bottle your own wine down there, so it's pretty fun. He has lots of tastings, and they're creatively named. Any other questions on that?
I just can't emphasize enough, if you need help with the city on closing any of these things out,
Okay.
please reach out.
You know, the scary part about that Club Benham building is when the realtor stepped back, then I was hearing that the building isn't closable, and I'm thinking, well, if
Yeah.
a realtor
You're
can't
hearing
close
rumors,
it.
yeah.
And so nobody's really told me that since. He has another agent, but that agent lives south and west of Emporia, so it's a long trek for him to come up. And, you know, it's, so
Okay.
I will certainly reach out.
Has there been any discussion with the Lee's Furniture Building?
I talked to John over the holidays, and, you know, his comment was that it would be a good building for someone that could utilize the opportunity zones. And Taylor sent me some information on that, and so, you know, if anybody steps up, you all will be the first to talk to those folks, because you're more familiar with opportunity zones than I. John commented, I think, that he wasn't able to use that program, or maybe he just didn't want to, because
Yeah.
well, anyway, so, I did talk to another, had a little conversation with, a group that likes to bring, climbing opportunities to communities. And, I think this was a temporary opportunity, and they were looking at some buildings, and I mentioned to them, I said, well, that would be a really great one for an indoor, especially something for our youth and our teens and adults, families of all kinds, because I'm not a rock climber or an indoor climber, but many people do that, and it's a lot of fun. And I think with a quality venue, that could work well. I haven't been in the building, so I don't know how much John's taken out of it.
It's certainly high enough to do that, though, because I've been in some of
And
those
he had
rock.
talked about that, he just doesn't want to operate that, and so, anyway, that was the last conversation I had with him. We would certainly like to see something moving along on that. So, the community benefits projects, all of these things that we do, we look at how are they going to benefit the downtown, how are they going to benefit the small business owners, the restaurateurs, the city, everybody, the community, everyone involved. So, you know, one of the reasons we brought the Banner of Honor program, because we felt like that was a really great program that showcased our military, everything from the Civil War through today's times, and that was the reason, and we partner with the VFW on that. The Pole Banner program, we think, adds a lot of vibrancy downtown. Hopefully you've seen them up there, about 52 or 6. We've had 3 break already, though, so I think they're due to Mother Nature and the wind that we've had, so we keep fixing those. Main Street puts the American flags on Delaware Memorial Day, and back up on 4th of July and around Veterans Day. We have the district's mobile app, and provide the VIP reception, and I promise you'll see some public art starting soon. We're really excited about that. Our design team has restructured themselves, and they're the ones that provided the gingerbread project downtown. Those were manufactured by volunteers, and so you know, we thought they were whimsical and fun. We had to repair a few. They're not professionally done by a sign company, but
No, they certainly
you know,
aren't.
the volunteers had a good time with those, and I think added some to the holiday season.
I thought it was a nice touch.
And so we've collected them all. They're resting in the back room, and one's still at the Home 2 Suites. So the city does have partnerships with us. We have the appointed board members, Melissa Bauer and Joey Denny, that are from the city, and staff that participates on some of our committees. We spent about $24,200 on marketing this year, outside marketing. Those are some of the locations that we spent that money on. The wayfinding signs, I haven't heard about those lately, but I'm hoping since the city took it over, they're coming.
I talked to Ann at the LCDC annual banquet, and she said that it's on her list, and she's So it's a young sign company has her at the
And
moment.
she just had a new grandbaby, and I think
Yeah.
she's out of town for that. So anyway,
I mean, do you think it'll come to fruition in 2019?
Yeah, I mean, it was supposed to be done in
Right.
2018, so I'm hoping early 2019.
Yeah.
Okay,
They have it on their radar.
good.
we provide some educational opportunities, and we were really thrilled that Commissioner Griswold and Taylor and Julie stepped up and went to the National Main Street Conference since it was in Kansas City, Missouri. We had about 9 board members and some merchants that went. It always helps that we paid their registrations, but it was close, and it was it's always exceptional. So we increased the holiday decorations with the gingerbreads and encouraged all of the businesses light up their storefronts with white lights and twinkle everywhere. So we'll continue to build on that. These were the new businesses that were welcomed in 2018. Ava's Island Cafe is excellent.
Oh, it's
Authentic
good,
Jamaican food down at
Ate there the other day.
732
It's very
Shawnee. The Hilton Home 2 Suites, the Bmv Theatre. The Escape Game Leavenworth is at 4th and Delaware, and they tend to be really active, and many groups are going and having fun. First City Dental Care came in 2018, and they're down in the 100 block of Delaware. I think growing, and we'll probably outgrow that location soon and plan to stay downtown. The Board and Brush Leavenworth has been a fun, interactive experience downtown. Same way with Z&M Twisted Vines Winery. And Fluffy Swedish Bar. I understand he's open at 9:30 in the morning, so if anybody needs a good Bloody Mary, maybe.
Fluffies.
Steve is a local Leavenworth resident, grew up here, I think, and so many people know him, and there's a story behind his nickname, Fluffy. The Sugar Bliss Bakery and Cafe opened several months ago, and unfortunately, they've already shut their doors.
I wonder, because I didn't see anybody down there for a while.
So the restaurant equipment is for sale. I believe they have a lease. I've already contacted a couple of folks that have had interest in opening a small restaurant, so we'll see how that goes. Oftentimes it's, there's many reasons why they fail. I mentioned several times, if you taken menus over to the Stove Lofts, because we know they've got lots of residents, and gotten the word out, and, well, I'm going to do that, and, that's kind of what I get sometimes. And I know that she had a special needs son that was working there, did a great job when I was in there. But anyway, for whatever reason, she said due to some health reasons, so I hope her health is good. Straight Eight Barbershop, we visited with him for a couple years now, and now he's finally downtown and extremely busy. He has a Grow Leavenworth County award, and cutest little boy, he was cutting his hair the day we were in awarding that. Picket Fences and Pedals has moved downtown, and I visit with Deanne frequently. Patent Leadership Consulting is a new business, and they're located where the CVB used to be, in the Chamber Building, in that office space. Fishburne Realty is at 505 Cherokee. Bakery Delicatessen is right up 5th Street, and they are of Czechoslovakian origin, and so just really great pastries, and they do a lot of breads, and I have to be careful how many times I walk in, because it's really good. Bill's Kitchen opened. This is Bill Aikman that used to own the Family Bistro, and so he is leasing a building at 700 Kiowa and has great barbecue, fried chicken and barbecue.
Anybody ate there?
It's delicious.
Yeah, you can take out too, so
Yeah,
it's very good.
Very good.
Yeah, he's
Good chicken.
He's a good chef.
Very good chicken.
I think he's got some
I heard the ribs were
smoked
good.
ribs that he
Smoked
then
ribs were-
deep fries.
He's a good
Yeah, I
chef.
heard those were really good.
Yeah.
The chicken's good and pulled pork is good.
Then you can bring us some at your next presentation.
I'll make myself a note. So Thane Hahn purchased the Family Bistro from Bill as he was closing that. It was mainly because his brother was the major partner in that restaurant. And so anyway, Bill worked for June for a while, and then he was able to open up another restaurant. But Thane has some of the same delicious items in the bistro, plus he added a sushi bar. And it's gorgeous. I'm not a sushi eater, but boy, does it
Sushi's
look
good.
delicious, and it's artful. And so I think they're doing good. Leavenworth Yoga the co-op was purchased, and so the new name is Leavenworth Yoga, same location. Petite Fleur opened early in January. I think it was that really snowy Saturday we had, but she had a great turnout. It is a resale boutique for children's clothing up to age 18, I believe. And so anyone can, it's not consignment, she purchases the clothing. They can bring the clothing in and she'll go through it and either donate further what she can't use or send it back in person. But Heidi's a great young lady, and her daughter, teenage daughter's in there at times, and her husband. The 424 Lounge is James and Georgette Diggs, and he did purchase that building. And then First City Wine and Spirits, I think, was supposed to open last week. So that's back on the backside of the 200 block of Delaware, kind of next to Straight 8 Barbershop. And that's a Greenemeyer store. Any questions on those? We are pretty active with social media, and we like and share many posts from our Main Street investors and organizations, and this reach was about as far back as I could go. So this is this period from January 8th to February 4th. We remain number 2 behind the City of Leavenworth's Facebook, and right ahead of the CVB. We have a new opportunity that's starting probably about February 8th, and it's called Fan Bank. So we're going to see how that works. We are partnering with some national brands, which are Airbnb, Hotels.com, Southwest Airlines, Uber, and Fitbit. And so I understand that if you're looking for a flight and you are searching, Southwest might come up, and there might be information about downtown Leavenworth on that ad. They might be giving some things away. It's their things they're giving away, but we can also add to that. So we'll see how that works as far as helping to spread the word about Leavenworth. Let's see. Besides the National Main Street Conference, it was in Kansas City, Missouri, where many of us attended. I attended the Kansas Preservation Conference in Lawrence, and Julie was there, and some of the Preservation Commission folks, and always learn a lot, so I bring that information back to those folks that I'm talking to that either own a building or think about buying a building, because I feel like tax credits are extremely lucrative and important, and we are a downtown historic district with many buildings that are contributing structures. I just yesterday attended with the Kansas State Historic Society a tax credit workshop, and learned even more about tax credits. I've worked on a project and done that tax credit project. So I've been communicating with Julie to see if we could maybe have a reassessment of the downtown historic district, since some of the buildings have changed. Some of the buildings that were bricked up as bars, those have been opened up as storefronts again, and that may be an opportunity for those buildings to receive tax credits. But the state tax credits are 25%, so on a $100,000 project, they could receive $25,000, which they could use on their tax liability, or they could sell on the open market, which they don't recoup the full amount on the open market. But still, it's yet another way to provide some gap opportunities to them. Heritage tourism is huge, and so I try and share that with Christy as I learn about that. As a board member with the Grow Leavenworth County, we're all active on different types of programs that we offer through Network Kansas, and obviously the Destination Boot Camp is near and dear to my heart. I was one of the first coordinators when we took a group of 7 businesses, all from downtown Leavenworth a couple years ago. And so I worked real hard, and we got another group to go back to Longmont, Colorado in October. And James Diggs was the only one from downtown Leavenworth, but there were 6 other businesses that went from the Tonganoxie area. And John comes back during that program, and he does a kind of a seminar, and we had over 100 attendees as that. It was held at an event center out kind of in the country, Deer Ridge Estate outside of Tonganoxie, and it was absolutely delicious, beautiful. The Tonganoxie Business Association did a great job. So it's an opportunity, and I've already had some local businesses say, hey, if you're going to do it again, I'm interested, and those are mostly downtown Leavenworth businesses. So, you know, we're thankful for Network Kansas for funding that program, and I like working on that one. We have the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge that's coming up on February 22nd. Is that right, Taylor? I think Friday, on a Friday, and it's another tremendous opportunity for junior high and high school students in our Leavenworth County to come up with a business plan, do a short elevator speech, that's not on here, and give a pitch about a business that they might want to start, and tremendous cash prizes and the opportunity to go on to the state competition. So I've been, I think we've all been trying to talk to the schools and really get them excited about it. Sometimes, I know my 2 granddaughters that are sophomores, and I don't think I want to do that. I said, this is crazy. It's an easy, fun activity. But anyway.
When is that coming up?
I believe it's on Friday, February 22nd.
Okay.
And it's at Baser Linwood High School in the afternoon.
I think the Leavenworth High School has this DECA club that's
Yep.
kind of business oriented, right?
Yep,
I would
and
think that some of
they
those-
reach out to them, and some of them have gone to speak to the different schools as well. They started back in September, October, visiting with the schools and making those inroads with DECA and the business departments. And so, you know, because we know that those folks are upcoming small business owners, our entrepreneurs. So this is the major issue that I'm hearing, and I hope you'll take a look at that, because I have been contacted by many merchants on Delaware, and they really, really want some help from the city. They really want to address downtown parking. It's mostly the 400 and 500 block of Delaware, but I would imagine the 100 and 200 block of Delaware sometimes suffers as well. You know, I think some type of a collaborative effort, but, you know, my board feels like it needs to be officially coming from the city, some type of a letter. We would gladly help provide the names of the businesses and addresses if you're mailing something to them, upper story dwellers as well. I instill repeatedly in our e-news and anywhere else when I'm talking to folks that street parking is for customers, period. But we have a number of merchants and some upper story business folks and probably some dwellers that continue to park either right in front of their business. There might be 3 cars of theirs. You know, I noticed one parks in the handicap spot now, and they're not handicapped, don't have a handicap tag. And I know that public parking is public parking, but, you know, our small businesses depend on their customers being able to park relatively close. Believe me, I realize that at the Legends, at Zona Rosa, at Walmart, nobody pulls up to the front door very often. But in small communities, downtowns, the perception is if I can't pull up close, I'm going to circle once and then I'm done. And so that's, you know, they're trying really hard to provide a great downtown and customer service, and many of them will, you know, if somebody knows what they need, they'll bag it up and run it out to them. But the bottom line is, if we could get a dozen or, I'm going to say there's probably a dozen cars close to that within that 400 and 500 block of Delaware that they should be parking in municipal lots. Some of them have parking right behind their building. But I think a encouraging letter from the city would go a long way. You know, we encourage building owners that have upper story tenants to let their tenants know that they need to park in the municipal lots. The reason we provide our business guides is we have a map of downtown, and these yellow areas are all the municipal lots. And so, you know, there are many lots to park in. You know I bring it up frequently, but I've had more than ever recently talk about it. I mean, they really, you know, may come to a commission meeting in force sometime, but if we can try and work together, I don't feel like Main Street's the parking police, but we certainly would do whatever we could. I know that the poles are gone, but you know, I tried to Google and find a few pictures. I know in crosswalks, sometimes in streets, there's signs that they must kind of bolt down, and I think some creative signage that says something like, "We love our customers," or "Customer parking in a heart shape," or something that maybe shames some of the merchants that are parking on the street. And other merchants have commented if there was just some kind of police oversight that was random, that nobody knew when they were going to show up. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once every 2 weeks, and I know there's not a meter person anymore, but all of those ideas have come up, and I would hate for customers to get fines, but you know, I mean, it could limit the amount of parking, the 2 or 3 hours or whatever. But anyway, that's my plea from Main Street, to try and make some inroads in that parking. I don't think we have near the problem on Cherokee or Shawnee. It's getting active down in the 700 block of Shawnee, but that's manageable. It's just mostly, you know, and we know who the business offenders are.
And I tried to approach them and explain it to them.
Yeah, and many of them, you know, just get irate, and some of the business owners have tried to talk to them. Well, I can park anywhere I want. I don't have to listen to you. And they don't. But, and you know, everybody's trying to be friendly and make a bad situation better. And we will continue to remind them that, you know, it's customer parking, and, you know, we take the map around with us when we're talking. But,
Wendy, the example you use on someone parking in disabled parking, that is a police issue. If they'd see that, if they weren't properly tagged, they will take care of that.
Yep.
The other parking, I understand your concern, that, you know, this should be customer parking, but for that person that comes back at you and says, "I can park wherever I want." In fact, they were correct. That is
Sure.
a public street.
Yeah.
We cannot dedicate that and say that's only customer parking. Delaware Street is owned by the entire community, whether they shop there or not, hopefully, you know, mostly shoppers. I would think it'd be incumbent upon businesses that have businesses, say, you know, entice their staff to park outside so customers park
Sure.
up front. But I don't want to say that we're powerless in doing anything there. That is an education thing that has to happen, hopefully from the merchant, called the Merchant Association, not calling it Main Street. But if 3 or 4 people get together and walk into a business, not just one, and, you know, not get into arguments and just say, "Hey, we noticed this parking back here, it's hurting all of us." But as for making it customer parking only, unfortunately, I would not be in favor of that. I could not be in favor of that, because it would be unlawful, because it is a public street. You cannot make it public. Now, if it's Walmart can make theirs customer parking only, they own the property, but this is a city street. So I think I don't want to say our hands are tied. This is not where I'd want to go. I couldn't do it, because I think it'd be unlawful.
Well, I think the only remedy to their situation is 2. 1, go back with meters, which I oppose.
Yeah.
And 2, is put back a parking attendant. We already know through history that that's not going to pay for itself.
And it also, when we had like 3-hour parking, people gaming the system, they parked there, at 2 hours and 50 minutes, they can move their car, come back around the block, and then their 3 hours starts all over again. And, they did game the system.
Yes.
Because there are limited,
Parking.
yeah, and there are limited number of parking spaces on Delaware in the 400 and 500 block, and that's what happens. It just, I understand the plight, and I'm hoping that the businesses that are possibly the offenders would take it upon themselves, but the other businesses say, let's work together and get this taken care of.
Do you think signs would be helpful?
Pardon?
Signs?
Well, I mean, I don't think a sign would be needed at every parking stall, but I think on 4 signs in the 400 block of Delaware, midway between the corner and the crosswalk, one that would just encourage customer parking, and another one between the crosswalk and 4th Street, and the same on the other side. I don't know. It's something that could be worth a try, and I understand it's public parking, but it's not really customers that are abusing it. It's more folks that should know better, because anybody running a business, I don't care what type of business it is, your customer should be number one, and look out for that customer. So, I don't know, just some ideas and some comments.
Mr. Mayor, I think, and I know some of, the Mr. Preisinger, Mr. Dedeke, and Ms. Bowder have dealt with this before, but we really didn't deal with it in detail our first year. I would just recommend, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but I mean, there are some things that maybe have done in the past that maybe we could reconsider, or some new ideas in terms of incentivizing that, not penalizing people, but maybe, what you suggested as far as signs, but a short session during a future study session, I think would be warranted on this particular issue. I do appreciate you at least sharing the details that you did with us today about a challenge problem particularly for those 2 blocks of Delaware. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I got you.
I don't know what the other commissioners
Is that
think.
it?
Do you have a question?
Cool.
No, whenever you get finished, I have a comment.
Something we can look into, Paul?
It's up to the commission if
I got you.
look at it. Good.
I'm in
I don't
favor
know.
of having a study session. It doesn't need to be
I don't know what we're
long.
gonna accomplish. It's a public street. I don't know what we
But
can.
I'll be in favor
Well,
of some signs.
Yeah, and just
I don't
thinking,
know what to think
that's
about
why,
that, because,
right.
we've got a historic downtown. How many signs have we got down there?
Well,
Just in
maybe,
that little area,
Now, you know.
she pointed out, I think.
Well, it's pretty open. I mean, I look at it whenever I'm down there, and because the other posts are gone from the meters and all,
Yeah.
it's clear and open, and
Yeah.
I don't want it to be cluttered and ugly, but I think maybe it would remind, we will do another, Walk the Streets campaign and leave a note in the mailboxes and go in the businesses as well. It's, but it continues to be, an issue, and some merchants are more vocal than others, and some are really vocal, both ways.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate your partnership and investment in our program. We hope that you realize that we're working hard 24/7 to make this the greatest downtown there is. I travel around a lot, and we really do have a great downtown. But we know that it takes a lot of special hand-holding and visiting those businesses, getting to know them on a first-name basis. And we really encourage all of you and city staff to visit businesses downtown. They're your sounding board and your connection to small business, and they provide a significant economic impact downtown and to the coffers. Nearly everything that you need or desire can be found at downtown merchants and throughout the community. And we really hope that you're ordering your logo shirts, your paint, your IT services, maintenance repair materials, maintenance equipment, printing needs, animal control, food and supplies, furnishings, art and framing, breakthrough needs, gifts, gift certificates, and more, instead of just going to the internet. It might be 50 cents cheaper for a shirt, but you're probably going to pay shipping on it. You're not going to have to pay shipping. So all in all, if you really encourage the departments to invest local, we believe it really does matter and makes a huge difference. Those merchants are the ones that all of these groups and schools and churches are going to for donations. You know, they very rarely are getting a donation from somebody on the internet. And so they're the heart and soul of the community, and it matters to all of us. Sometimes, you know, we'll look at something online and, you know, we make the conscious decision, no, we can do it downtown. We can have one of our suppliers provide what we need, and we don't need to go out and about. So anyway, that's the end. Nancy, have a question?
Yeah, just, first, thank you so much for all your hard work that you've done over the years for Main Street and downtown, and your passion is so evident. I just want to say in one of the, under economic development, and that continuing to make contact with small grocers. I appreciate that Main Street is doing that. That's something that we desperately need somewhere in the north part of the city.
Yep.
And anyway, I'm glad you're still doing that.
And we have a new building owner that's looking at, she has a model from a Wyoming community, and I've given her a model from the Hutchinson community, and she's really considering that type of a market. So it may not come real quick, but you know.
Great. It would be great. As more people are living downtown, more people will be living in new apartments, and that in North Leavenworth. So I think anything that we can get would be great for that.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Wendy, I drove by June's the other day and I seen a for sale sign
Yep.
out there, which caused a loud alarm.
Well, I think she's ready to retire. She has a son and grandchildren in Florida. And so that's what Larry, the realtor, tells me, that she's, I knew that it was for sale, and I thought she was working with another local restaurant. And anyway, that still could happen, but, you know, she's the ever-ready bunny.
Oh,
And
yeah, I know that.
so, you know, we hate it that those things happen. She's done a tremendous job there and has an excellent catering business and restaurant and event center, and you know, it's but the right person might come by that's younger and do an exceptional job as well. But yeah, and Luigi's is out there in the marketplace, that it's for sale.
What about Goodwill?
I just saw that sign, so I can't answer that.
You ever find out any information on them?
I know it's for sale.
Does Goodwill own that store, or are they renting it, or did
I
they
don't
own it?
really know. I'll do some research.
Because I drove by there tonight and ran to the meeting, I mean, there were a lot of cars out there in the parking lot, so I did.
They just selling the
Well,
building.
if they left, it'd be an ideal spot for the North Grocery Store.
Yes.
It used to be a.
Did it used to be a grocery store?
Eric told us.
Good. So in your packet, this is a Main Street cling. It can go on your car or whatever. It doesn't stick hard. You can pull it off anytime. Our Alive After 5 event this Thursday is for the love of chocolate. It'll be really fun. There's 15 businesses plus this wheel to spin. March is our first of our beer events. We have 2 beer and 2 wine events, and so it's an international beer fest on, well, does this not, yeah, March 7th. It's right in front of me. This is a flyer that gives all of the themes for Live After 5 for the year. And I failed to mention, we provided this at our annual banquet, so many of you may have gotten it, but those are the downtown stats for 2018. And I made another copy of those in the businesses. So the public and private investment was $4.368 million in 2018. Year to date on our stats, it's $75.868 million. So things are fluid and ever-changing, but it's positive downtown, and some really great folks that operate their businesses.
St. Patrick's Day is going to be on the Sunday, correct?
Yes, it is.
Are you encouraging any business owners to open up during
We
that time?
always do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even
that
on a
and-
Sunday?
Well, we will encourage that.
Okay, gotcha.
We find that
Great, it'll be then.
Well, yeah. That's, the people
We
will
do
be
the
there.
same thing on Veterans Day as well, and so many folks, they just, you know, whoosh, and they're gone to the VFWs or wherever they go. The same thing, we'll encourage them to
Okay.
be open. Yeah,
But the parade is on Sunday.
Yes, it
Correct.
is.
Yeah.
And it starts an hour later, always on Sunday, because of the churches getting out later.
Yeah.
So the parade starts at 1 o'clock on St. Patrick's Day, the 17th of March.
Good to know.
I would imagine there'll be a few more than the normal eateries that might sell beer or just food and all that'll be open, and some special things going on. And we'll promote that as well on our Facebook and throughout the community. Yep.
Before we
Thank you,
move
guys.
on, I need an official consensus on a study session on downtown parking. Either need one mayor or
I'm in
3
favor.
commissioners.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I will have the discussion, but and I think it's good to have the discussion, but
Okay.
I
I'll go
think
along
we'll
with that, I
find
guess.
out that
It's okay.
we'll be on a public street.
We'll let you know when it's gonna be.
Okay, and I'll round up those, especially the vocal ones, but we'll send something out to everybody to encourage them to come.
Great presentation.
Thank you,
Thank
appreciate
you, Wendy.
it.
Next item on the agenda, annual review of development regulations, text amendments.
City planner Julie Hurley will handle this item.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you said, this is our annual review of text amendments to the development regulations. This is just something that we go through annually to take care of any issues that have come up during the year as we use the development regulations. The Planning Commission has reviewed all of these. They held their public hearing last night and voted to approve all of the suggested changes. Primarily, they're just cleaning up language or cleaning up omissions that happened inadvertently when we revised the regulations back in 2016. I will just hit the 3 major changes that we are making to them. Probably the biggest one is adding a provision to allow accessory dwelling units in residential areas. Those would be allowed by-
Curious about what that meant.
Yeah, that would be allowed by special use permit. And what an accessory dwelling unit is, more commonly known as like a mother-in-law, quarters, something like that. We get requests for these from time to time. Mainly with the older homes like along Broadway and such that might have an existing carriage house or a large accessory building out back, and they want to construct a residence in them for an adult child, or to use as a rental, or for an aging parent or something like that. And the way the regulations are written now, you can only have 1 residence per single-family residential lot. So a lot of communities do have provisions to allow for these in certain circumstances. So we just added the language that they could be approved through the issuance of a special use permit, along with some specific restrictions on them. So if anybody came in and wanted to add one of those to their property, they would have to go through the Planning Commission with final approval from the City Commission. So it wouldn't just be allowed by right. We would be taking a look at each of those on an individual basis and making sure that they fit in with the neighborhood. Another major change, we added the provision for massage therapy establishments as a home occupation allowed by special use permit. That goes along with some language that the commission approved earlier last fall in updating the city ordinances. We did not account for that in the development regulations, and the language that you all had passed before did refer back to the development regulations. So we have allowed for those massage establishments as a home occupation with issuance of a special use permit. So similar to daycares, if someone wanted to have one in their home, they'd be coming through that process, and the Planning Commission and this body would be taking a look at that. And then the final substantial change that we have for solar energy systems, currently we have a requirement that any solar energy collection system over 500 square feet requires a special use permit. We've seen more and more of these coming in, and what we've found is that 500 square feet of collection surface just isn't a reasonable size for a lot of single-family residential homes. They are needing larger than that. So taking a look at what some other cities have done, most cities don't have a restriction on roof-mounted systems. If you need or want to, you can cover your entire roof. There's more restrictions placed on ground-mounted systems. So what we did, just updated some language so that there's no limit on the size of a roof-mounted solar collection system, but there's still restrictions on the size for a ground-mounted collection system. So just getting more in line with what's sort of the current trends now that we're seeing with these systems.
What's the size limitation for the ground system?
600 square feet, and that was actually already in our language, that they're limited to 600 square feet, and they are subject to setback requirements and that type of thing. So really those three that I mentioned are the only substantial changes. The rest, like I said, is just kind of cleaning up language that was messy to begin with. So if you have any questions, I can answer those, but other than that, the Planning Commission, like I said, did hold their public hearing last night and voted 6-0 to recommend approval of these.
So do we have consensus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll bring these back to be approved formally by ordinance here in the near future.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, dangerous structures review and assessments.
Our city planner will continue on this item.
Okay. So as you're all familiar, every year we do a demolition list. Staff uses state statute to evaluate dangerous and blighted structures throughout town, and so we place those on a list for potential review and demolition by the City Commission. This is our first look at the list that we've compiled for this year. So tonight, we're not having a public hearing or any really in-depth conversation on these. This is just this body's chance to take a look. If there's any that we've identified that you don't think warrant demolition, we'll take those off and not proceed. But if there's consensus to move forward with these buildings, then staff will start our process of notifications and pulling title work and all of that, and then we'll get a public hearing scheduled and bring back for discussion on
Julie,
this.
can you also talk about the consideration we give for occupied or abandoned property?
Sure, our practice has been to only identify unoccupied structures. Typically, the reasoning behind that is, in the past, we've used primarily federal funds through our CDBG grants, and we're really unable to use those funds to demolish occupied structures. If you demolish occupied structures with federal funds, you trigger other requirements for paying relocation and other expenses for occupants that you would be displacing. So we've just, as practice, opted not to do that and not displace anybody. The last couple of years, the commission has dedicated some funds in the general budget for us to use on demolition. So we've been able to take care of a few more structures, but we've stuck with our practice of not demolishing occupied structures, just so as not to displace any residents, even though we wouldn't have that federal requirement to pay relocation. We've just felt that it's best practice to not be displacing people who are located in a dwelling. So we'll just run through these. The first, so you've got pictures as well as the checklist that staff has gone through. The checklist is based off of state statute, so all of those items on the checklist are directly from state statute in evaluating these structures. So the first is 905 Washington. This is a single-family house. This one, all of these are unoccupied.
Ms. Hurley, normally there's a block for taxes, and this one happens to be blank, and utilities, you know, this one's up to date on taxes, is it a couple years in the arrears, what about, utilities?
We are compiling the tax information, it's a little, but we will have that all by the public hearing. And we will indicate, yes, if they are current on taxes, or if they're in arrears, how much they owe. And then the utilities, what we typically look at is the water disconnect status, and that's another item that we are actively working on getting. So we will have that information when we go to the public hearing for
Okay,
these.
thank you.
Yes. So again, 905 Washington's the first one. It's a single-family house. 1214 Potawatomi, this is another single-family house. This one was on the demolition list for 2017. It was removed by the City Commission from that demo list last spring in March. The deal on this was the owner had apparently had a buyer who was unable to secure funding while it was on the demolition list, so the commission decided to remove it so that it could be sold. It never sold, and no work has taken place, so we're bringing it back to you for consideration again.
Yeah, we'll hear stories.
We
more stories
tend to
and-
hear a few stories.
Violin, who we playing?
And you won't be able to rebuild on this property, correct?
What's that?
You probably wouldn't be able to rebuild on this property, right? 1214 Potawatomi?
What do you mean rebid?
Oh, rebuild on it?
Rebuild?
Yeah.
The way our regulations are written, an existing lot, if it doesn't meet current lot width and lot size requirements, you can build on it, but you do have to meet current setback requirements. And so that does become pretty problematic on a lot of these existing smaller lots.
Is this one a 24-foot frontage, or do we know?
I believe it is,
Yeah,
yeah.
probably is.
It's a fairly narrow
Yeah,
lot.
these,
Yeah.
those little shotgun houses, 24-foot frontage, yeah.
Yeah. And on all those, neighbors, a lot of times will end up contacting the owner and approaching them about selling it to a neighboring property so that one of those neighbors could expand the size of their lots. We see that happen fairly frequently. 1605 Terry, this is one that was on the demolition list back in 2011 and was removed at that time. And as far as I'm aware, no other work has taken place on it since 2011.
It has been vacant all that time, do you know?
I'm not sure if it's been vacant since 2011, but it is currently
If I
vacant.
recall correctly, it was painting and the back wall, and I
Yeah,
thought that
I
was all
believe so. And
repaired.
I'll have all that information, more details when we go to
They had a
the
rock
hearing.
drive, they put in a rock driveway, didn't they, just threw gravel down there?
Yeah, it was,
they're supposed
yeah, the
to
driveway
cement
was
it.
never paved. I know that the
They were
driveway
going
was
to.
one of the issues
that
back in
story, too.
2011.
Yeah, but that was grandfather.
What,
That was grandfather.
that one was?
The gravel driveway, because
Mhm.
we didn't enact that ordinance after that house was built.
Well, I appreciate your perseverance.
We try.
Moving on.
Yeah, next one is 514 Lynn.
That's gotta go.
This is a single-family house and an associated shed with it. It's been boarded up.
Yeah.
Next one is 603 Rees. It's a single-story, single-family house, got a large portion of the roof that's caving in. 795 Spruce. This one is owned by a church, and they're using it as storage for items, and it's been sort of a persistent code enforcement issue with not keeping it cleaned up, and the building is in a state of disrepair. The next one is 1021 2nd Avenue. This is a two-story, single-family home and associated garage. There's
This
been
is South Second Street, I
Yes.
believe, not Second Avenue.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we got it right on the
Yeah.
checklist. Yeah, I put it wrong on here. I apologize for that.
Familiar with this stuff.
This one's had some kind of patchwork
Okay.
repairs to the exterior of it.
Who is the owner?
Miss Janet
However.
Weber. The next one is 1214 9th Avenue. It's a single-family, single-story home and a detached garage with it. Next one is 1708 South 4th Street. Has another single-story, single-family home and a detached garage. Next one is 1916 Montezuma, single-family home. This one's actually got a fairly good-sized lot. So it'd be easily rebuildable if this one.
Other than the roof, it doesn't look all that bad, at least via the photograph.
Yeah,
but-
some of these in the pictures, if you haven't had a chance, I would encourage you to get out and take a look at them before we get to the public
Yeah.
hearing. And again, when we get to that
Sure,
point, that
sure.
we have, some discussion on these. Next one is 2317 3rd Avenue. This one's been boarded up for some time. There may have been a fire in here at some point. I need to go back and check the records, but it has been boarded up and vacant for a period here. We've had quite a number of code violations on it. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the last time we had them in court was last April. The next one is 305 North 2nd Street. This one has had some repairs started, never completed. Has just kind of sat in this state for over a year. Looks like we missed putting the date of the last court appearance on here, but I know we have had this owner in court several times over the last few months, and the judge ordered him to complete repairs on it, which has not happened, obviously. The next one is 326 Osage. It's a small single-story house.
Nobody lives here anymore then, in this one?
No.
Okay. All right.
Looks like squatters live there.
That could very well be.
Well, I used to know the lady that lived there. Okay.
Next one is 400 North 5th Street. This is a 2-story building. I know there's been some question as to whether or not it's occupied. It's our understanding that it is not occupied. Although we have seen people in and out of it, I don't believe anybody's actually living there, though they've had a number of code violations as well.
I don't even see a power line going to it, and the meters are gone, so.
Yeah. So if anybody's living in there, they should not be.
So what happens to the bank or the business or the citizen who gets a code violation? Is it usually a fine that they pay, or is it?
It depends. So we send out the code violation notices, and if they don't abate the issue, then it gets filed in court, and it's up to the court to issue fines, or sometimes they'll authorize the city to abate if it's something that the city can take care of. Sometimes, well, frequently we get property owners that just don't show up, and so they'll get fines assessed that end up never paid. They end up with bench warrants issued, and so those instances where the property owners are just not showing up to court are really hard to get anything done.
From the city standpoint.
Yeah, when they're not coming and they're not contacting us to work, the court can issue as many fines as they want, but if they're not showing up and not paying them, there's only so much we can do.
Yeah, there's a lot we can do. We can demo it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how they end up to this point. The next is 403 Olive.
Lovely property.
And there's nobody living there now in 403.
It is posted as unfit for habitation. It has no utilities. We do know that for a fact. I know that there are people staying there that are not, they're not supposed to be. Police has been over there a number of times to remove them from the property at night. This one has been to court a few times. Our staff was actually out there last fall with our contractor. We got an authorization to abate the junk that was in the backyard. You probably noticed it backs right up to that Dollar General there on Spruce, so it was really visible. The backyard was pretty full of junk, and so we at least got that all removed, but the house is still got some issues.
I was driving by there one day.
4th Street's a beauty too, I know.
Yes, and that's coming up.
I could assume the inside.
I was driving by the Dollar General one day and it looked like this house was on fire and the fire department came.
Yeah.
They were they had a smoker in the basement with a pipe going out. And the smoke was coming out and it looked like
Is
the
that what
house
that
was on
was?
fire.
I thought it was a fire too.
I know that our building inspection staff was able to get in this at one point back in the fall, and that's actually how we were able to post it as unfit. And that was one of the main reasons they were using a wood burning stove down in the basement without proper ventilation, and obviously that's a major fire hazard. So
carbon monoxide.
It's got some
Right,
work,
yeah, a little life issue.
yes. The next is 505 North 7th. This is just a detached garage. The next is 787 Shawnee. This is right next to the depot, just to the west of the depot. It's a single-family house and an associated detached garage.
Hasn't this one been on before?
I would have to double check.
Yeah, that address sounds familiar to
Yeah,
me
the
too.
one just on that side of the track, well, it used to be the tracks.
Yeah.
Next to the creek.
I'll double check.
That's the first one directly west of the depot, isn't it?
Yeah,
I believe. I thought we dealt with this one one time.
I'll go back and look.
Yeah, it looks familiar.
Yeah, we haven't provided any official notification to property owners yet, but I do know that this property owner has been in contact with our staff and is supposedly trying to get ownership transferred. So he does know that it's coming up on the demo list and that we'll be bringing it for a public hearing. So I'm sure this is one where the owner will come before you and probably want to do some work on it.
Could you take some steps to get the garbage picked up, or?
We've written that up. I know the owner of the depot has cleaned some of it up himself a number of times since it reflects on his business as well,
Yeah.
so,
These are all answers.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is 802 North 4th Street. This is the house next to
802
the.
South 4th.
South
The picture
4th, yes.
says north.
So,
Yep, it's south, yep.
It's right around the corner from that
Yes.
403
You're
Olive.
correct. Yeah,
by
right,
the
it's right
Olive.
next to
Right
the
around the
403
oh,
Olive.
okay,
Oh.
you're right.
Yep, this
okay.
is the one, it burned, fire was August of last year. At first, they
that
were in
one did it.
contact with staff, said that they were working on getting their insurance money, they were gonna get it fixed, and then communication just ceased, and they obviously have not done anything with that.
Did we get, was there insurance on it? Are we holding that?
We didn't get it. A lot of times we'll hear that they have insurance, we end up not getting it, we're supposed to get a portion of it, I think it's like 15% or
15%.
something. So we hear a lot of stories
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, and
when
we hear a lot when they come in
there's
here and tell us.
fires. Yeah. So,
We did not get anything on this.
yeah,
And it's based off of the amount that it's insured, so, if it's underinsured,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, so, but we did not receive any insurance.
But most, if it in fact is insured, most insurance companies, whether they be the bigger ones or even the real small ones, kind of know that most municipalities throughout the country, if there's a fire, they know to contact the municipality and say, do you have any holdbacks on these?
Correct,
Any
and if
clawbacks?
we find out that we should have received some proceeds and we didn't, I can contact the state insurance commission
Yeah.
and report that insurance company, but I have to have knowledge that happened, and
Yeah.
it's difficult to figure out.
Yeah.
The way that ordinance is written, we should have been the first
That's
to
correct.
receive it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then bounce the proceeds once to the owner.
right, but but it depends on how much it was, of the damages there were and how much insurance there was, because it has to be a certain percentage of the damage to the property. So again, if it's underinsured,
Right.
we could,
Yeah.
it could be that we don't get anything.
the next one is 219 Miami, this one is a detached shed only.
Just the wooden shed, not,
Yes, just-
not the cinder block?
Just
thing
the
after?
wooden, yeah, we took a look at both and initially thought maybe the cinder block too, but taking a closer look, it's really just that wooden one. And the cinder block one has, some code violations we can get them on, but it's nothing that we thought we just come down. Next, 1016 North 10th, this one is a detached shed or garage. It's kind of hard to tell what exactly it is. It's detached.
Just look at a pile of lumber.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a wood cabin.
How do you find these places?
Drive down the street.
I
know.
You drive by them the other day.
I'm pretty observant, I haven't seen that
I
one.
think about
They're
3 of them
they're
are
down
mine
every
that I
street
put
alley,
on
and
there.
they see stuff you never knew existed.
Yeah, right.
So
Okay.
those are the 20 we have, and assuming if there's consensus, we will go ahead and start our process of notification, and we've got the letters ready to go, and we always offer the chance to sign a remediation agreement, which lists out the specific steps needed to be taken in order to bring it into code compliance. They all have the opportunity to sign that, stating their willingness. Should they elect to sign a remediation agreement, they also need to provide us with proof of funds and a written plan for the steps they're going to take. So we've got all that ready to go to send out this week, and we will start pulling the title work so that we can get the resolution ready to set the public hearing.
Do we have a consensus to move forward with this list?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, next item on the agenda, 3 Mile Creek Clean Community Program.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I just wanted to bring this proposed program in front of you to see if there was a general consensus to try this out as sort of a pilot program. City Commission has been interested my entire time here, but we've really focused the last couple of years on making aesthetic improvements that wherever we can in the city, in high-profile areas. I know both the downtown businesses, the City Commission, various residents have commented over the years about the value of the 3 Mile Creek Trail and how nice it is, but that sometimes its appearance leaves a little bit to be desired. I do want to say that our Parks and Recreation Department does a lot of work in there, whether it's trimming, cleaning the trail, picking up trash. They do a lot, but it's a small group, and there are a lot of parks in the city. So we started thinking, what are some other solutions? I don't believe like a strictly volunteer program would be sufficient. It's kind of unreliable. You get some people who may not know what they're up against once you get down into that creek and see where the trash is located. So we thought about creating a program that would benefit our nonprofits or groups that operate under nonprofits by essentially hiring them to do a professional job to clean the trail, and then they would be paid city funds toward their organization, a fundraiser. We wanted to beef up the requirements. There's things in here such as signing waivers, no participants under 16 years old, inspection by city staff for completion, making sure that it was done, coming up with a full program to clean the 3 Mile Creek Trail, starting at the river and going all the way to the trail's terminus. And that means cleaning everything you can get to. If there's any very large items, to note that. But a true cleanup, we would work with them to have a drop-off area for their bags. And so we wanted to bring that before you tonight to get your thoughts on that. The idea was to have the Parks and Recreation crew sort of do one final clean in like maybe March, and then in conjunction with the spring cleanup, roll this out and see how it works. I had some questions about, can we do this in other areas? Potentially, but I kind of wanted to see how this went. What kind of turnout, what kind of response do we get? First come, first serve for certain months. We've tried to come up with every scenario, try to have them do it between the 10th and the 20th of a month, so we don't have a group that wants to do it on the 30th and another group that wants to do it on the 1st, because then you're cleaning up the same thing. So kind of a learning process, see how this works over the calendar year of 2019, starting in April. And if it's successful, continue it, and then maybe expand it to other areas of the city. I did want to mention that we plan to use transient guest tax funds for this. So we'll be able to use those funds to put back into the community, back into our nonprofits, and not use any general fund dollars. I believe that with the location of the trail, it's a perfectly legitimate use of the transient guest tax to help beautify the downtown area. So that's the idea we had. Interested in thoughts, questions, comments. We obviously haven't thought of everything, so any ideas or questions you have?
I think it's a great idea. We should at least try it anyway and see how it goes.
I'm in favor of it, but does this include any of the brush removal?
That's good.
Especially down at 7th and Choctaw at the head of this.
That's a good question.
Because here, 2 or 3 years ago, we had a Boy Scout.
Right.
That came in and cleaned both sides for his Eagle badge.
Right.
And it looked beautiful. And then, of course, by that time, it's grown back up, but.
Right. That's a good question. Steve Grant and I talked a little bit about that, and I think if the parks crews have the relief of not having the trash pickup, that maybe we could do some, every other month brush clearings, have our guys do it. I think I'd rather have that done. A lot of stuff, even though it doesn't look like it by the new stove factory lofts, there's plantings and stuff in there, and you gotta kind of be careful what you do. Some stuff is meant to grow up, some stuff's not, so, I think we would do all that and just confine it to trash this first time around.
Is there some reason for keeping it at 16 and older?
Our thought was, there are some, I don't wanna say treacherous areas in there.
Okay.
But there are some areas in, steep banks and some areas that we weren't real comfortable. I'd be open, if you thought 14 was appropriate. We just.
Maybe, if you're talking about Boy Scouts and stuff, and kids doing stuff for community service, projects for their school, maybe middle school.
Okay.
Maybe moving it down a little bit if that's
okay
possible. I mean, 16 is still a minor as well. I mean, maybe to 14 or something.
That's
okay.
I'm fine with looking at that.
14?
14?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Are any legal implications to that?
We have the same waiver form that we use on, we have a lot of cleanup special projects that we do now. Eagle Scout, you mentioned, and some other stuff, and we have a standard waiver that would.
Okay. Maybe you covered this when I wasn't listening. Let's say 4 groups come in and say, we want to do that starting in April. Are you can divide it and force that 6-block area?
No, one group per month.
Oh, one group per month to take all 6 blocks?
Yes.
Or 8 blocks, whatever it is. Okay,
Yeah, because
okay.
by keeping it cleaned up, it's not gonna be that much stuff each for
Yeah.
one
That's what we're
month.
hoping.
You're thinking, yeah.
And then we'll say, hey, we have April signed up, how about May or June or July? Those are open kind of with first come, first serve.
I think it's a great idea
I
to
do
try
too.
it.
I can see ROTC jumping on one of those months.
Yeah.
I'm completely supportive, very well conceived. In terms of where is it just the trail that
Bank to bank.
Bank to bank?
Bank to bank.
Okay. And if there's like twigs or branches and things like that aren't that big, would they be required to pick up those twigs, and is that? And I know it's a very specific question, but I did look at, and I was just wondering about that.
We had only talked about trash, debris, and litter, things that are unnaturally in the
highway
area.
cleanup.
Okay. How about cigarette butts too? I mean, just to be, seriously, I mean, that's,
I know what you're saying, and we would expect, a
okay,
thorough job.
that could be,
Yep.
under the category of debris. I don't want to be pedantic or anything, but, I mean, needs to be thorough when they do it, so.
I'm in favor. So we have consensus to move forward.
Yes.
And we'll let you know
14.
how it's going. Yeah, 14.
Next item on the agenda, discuss prayer city commission meetings.
I'll give a brief start on this, then turn it over to Mayor Wilson. Mayor Wilson inquired to the city manager's office just about what was involved in establishing the formal practice of a prayer to start a city commission meeting. I turned to our city attorney and said, what are the implications involved? First of all, is it legal, is it not legal? I knew that it was, but I knew there were some best practices. I've included a memo, the memo from Lathrop and Gage on the issue. And just very briefly, a couple legal overview items. The city of Leavenworth may include a prayer at the beginning of the commission meetings, subject to some parameters. Should be solemn and respectful. Faith-specific prayers cannot oppress other citizens by belittling non-believers or religious minorities, threatening damnation or preaching conversion. The city must welcome a prayer by any minister or layperson who wishes to give one. In some required city action, our city attorney believes it's required to stay on the right side of the laws. The first step would be establishing and adopting a written non-discrimination policy. We'd have to establish a program to publicize the program to all local congregations and create a first-come, first-served program. The city would also need to ensure that all prayer givers would be aware of the requirements included in the legal memo. So those are what's involved. I think it's more of just a discussion amongst the commission, so I would turn it over and hear what you.
Yes, I think it'll be a great opportunity to involve our churches, and I think it'll also be good to set the tone of the meeting with the prayer.
Right.
Yep, so I'm open to discuss.
Could we also use, does it have to be a pastor, or could one of the Sisters of Charity
Yes.
come and do it?
Yeah. I think
It has to be left open to any minister or layperson.
Oh, or layperson, okay, so it doesn't have to be a minister?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Okay,
Well, Mr.
I
Mayor,
understand that.
I don't see a problem with what we have currently now. That was established in 2001 by Mayor, at that time, Philip Urban, and that was done right after the 9/11. And we've carried that practice on continuously. I don't see where it's drawn any criticism. We have not had any problem between us. It allow all 5 of us, if each of us have a certain discipline that we want to pray about before the meeting, each of us have that opportunity. And I prefer personal contact, and my vote would stay the way we are.
I agree. I support and agree with Mr. Dedeke.
Okay,
For the same reasons.
same reason?
It's very clear that the prayer is not dedicated to, or directed towards the public. It's directed towards the commission, and commission only.
Correct.
And that's what we have our silent meditation for, that if a commissioner chooses to pray, they can pray. If they choose to count to 10, they can count to 10, whatever they want to do. All this does, I don't think it's necessary. A lot of complications in it, policing it, getting people in, and we literally have to represent all denominations within the city, and there's probably some, and I think that could cause angst, because there are, and even those that are considered non-denominations, whether they be, I don't know if we have any Wiccans or whatever else in town. I agree with Commissioner Dedeke and Commissioner Griswold. I think we're in good shape right now, and we have time for prayer for the commissioners, and that's all it's supposed to be. It's not for the public or for the attendees, and we have that. So I don't see any need to change that.
Well, something that I want to bring to the commission.
Okay,
I
good.
respect each one of your opinions.
And I respect yours for requesting
Yes, sir.
it, but,
Yeah.
I got you, understand.
I say my own prayer too, but I know that, doesn't the legislature, don't they have
Yeah,
They have a
prayer
chapel.
before
They have a
the,
they
chapel.
have a paycheck.
oh, they have a paid chaplain that does
Would
it?
it
Okay.
stay, Topeka?
State, House of Representatives, the Senate in the U.S., and the chaplain. And they do invite, I think, pastors and
Yeah.
lay
I know some
lay
bars
people
have been invited
to present something to the, prayer has to be dedicated towards the legislators. But they don't have the private prayer that we have had, our private time. Meditation time, which is used. So, yeah, I mean, you can do it, obviously.
Yeah. We're good, yeah. Appreciate it, commissioners. Any other discussions amongst the commissioners? Commissioner Batter?
No, thank you very much.
Commissioner Dedeke?
No, I have nothing else.
I would just like to say that I listened just before I came to the meeting tonight as I was shaving. I listened to the podcast. To the podcast of 29 January 2019, and the mayor has picked up where Commissioner Preisinger left off, and I thought it was very good. City manager and a lot of good information, and I would encourage our citizens to go on our website and click on the 5th podcast, which was conducted on the 29th of January 2019. Some good information on economic development, citizen participation, and our favorite subject at this time of year, potholes.
Oh, yeah.
And I would like to, a good shout out to the streets division. I know they're working hard, and I had I think I reported 2 potholes, and within a few days they were filled in. And they needed to be done, but it's a good check. I think we have a good system, and just need to keep it up. And thanks to the streets division.
Yeah, and I broken record, but please report them. Don't
Yes,
just
correct.
talk about them to your friends or anything about
Facebook,
them.
yeah.
Please report them, and if it's reported, it will get fixed.
It does, so.
Commissioner Preisinger?
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Ball? No. Mr. John? No, we're good. All right, meeting adjourned.